Welcome to another edition of The Pursuit of Being a Stand-Up Leader. I'm here with videographer extraordinaire Jared Wittman from Wittman Media, and Lucas behind the scenes is working the cameras and the lights and the audio.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lucas, for being here, sincerely. Today we want to talk a little bit about interviews.
I think this is a great topic.
It's usually something that most people are affected by
Oh yeah.
as you begin your career.
Yeah.
And as a stand-up leader, you're obviously going to be involved in interviewing people, or you're going to have somebody on your team who interviews people. That fly is going to have to die. So, anyways, let's roll into this here before I get distracted by another fly. Hey, interviewing potential job candidates requires some special skills.
It does.
There's no question about it. There are rules as it relates to human resources.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not an HR expert.
Same here.
I'm not an HR expert on the law as it relates to hiring people.
Right.
I know there are rules.
Okay.
I've always kind of done a freewheeling, freelance, hopefully I'm never going to get arrested approach.
I was reading your book, and you have 5 different steps.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool.
Can we go through those steps?
One of the things that I have enjoyed most about my career is being able to interview people for my clients.
Yes.
It doesn't happen all the time. I've got 2 or 3 clients that are too busy to do the resume screen and the interviews, and they don't have big enough companies to have a full-time HR person, and they know I'm fairly good at doing interviews and screening people, so they've trusted me to do the front end of the process. So what I've learned over time is there's 5 simple steps that a stand-up leader can take to conduct a good interviewing process. The first one is pre-interview assignment.
What is that?
Okay, well, before we get there, you have to screen these people's resumes. Resumes are not created equal.
No, they're not.
The first level for me is, can they spell?
Okay.
Because if they can't spell, they can't work here. Because we have to have customer interactions, and I'm not spell checking people's work. So, learn how to spell before you send your resume. Yeah, that's cool. So, pre-call resume review. Screen for spelling, screen for layout, what information is included, and then what does it look like? Is it just a standard off the printer type Word document with nothing on it? Or are you going to have a border? Are you going to have color? Are you going to have it broken down into sections? And what are you going to lead with? And everybody says, well, you used to lead with this, now we lead with that. And I get that things change.
Yeah.
But the reality is the information enclosed in that is designed to get you the interview.
Right. So you're looking at it from an entire package perspective.
Yeah, it's a big picture.
Okay.
So the first step is to screen the resume.
Yeah.
If they've passed that and their resume is presentable and they can spell and it looks good and they've communicated well, then we give them a pre-interview assignment. I'll get them on the phone and we'll have a conversation about them, about their lives. I want to get to know them.
Right.
I'm not interested in your work background out of the blocks.
Yeah.
That's going to come later.
Yeah.
But I want to get to know people as a person.
Yeah.
So I always phrase it as, this is a get to know you meeting.
Yeah.
This is get to know each other.
Yeah.
I want you to ask questions and learn about the business because I'm not sure this company's right for you.
Right.
I'm not asking them if you're right for the company.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
So I give them a very simple assignment. Write out for me on 1 page or less why you're the best candidate for this position. It means you got about 2 paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
On that same page, 1 page or less, what value will you bring to this business? Those are questions. Remember we talked about asking better questions.
Yeah.
Those are open-ended questions that require an individual to think and write out what their thoughts are.
Right.
What value can you bring?
Yep.
What are you going to do to make a difference here? Why are you the best candidate? So then they're given either a couple of days or a week to complete that assignment.
Okay.
If they're really sharp and they've got nothing going on and they're ready to go, they can have that out to you in 2 days.
Yeah.
But I'll let them decide that. If 2 days is an unrealistic time frame, can you get it to me within the next week? Take some time to think about it. And I want you to email that to me with your references.
Okay.
So here we go. Now we're into this process of I'm really going to get to know the person. I'm going to see their writing style. I'm going to get a handle on what they're thinking about. And I'm going to see if they can meet the deadline, which is the first test.
Yeah.
We still haven't met yet. We're still in the get to know you stage via phone and email. So they're going to complete this assignment. And now I'm probably, based on their ability to get that done correctly, going to bring them in for an interview. There's that fly again. We're going to have to kill him. So I want to know, when I sit down and talk with the person in person, what is their vision for the future?
Right.
Personal. What do you want in your life?
I love that you are truth. I mean, you're just living your book, being a stand-up leader and making it about the people. Like, if you know what their goals are, or what they want to do, that kind of helps you be a better manager, and then does all these things to set up the process and incentivize them and all that stuff. I know we're still on step one, but
Well, you're right, because if we're talking about bringing somebody on board, that's a pretty big commitment.
basically you want to hire for the character, right? And then
Yeah.
everything else you can teach and train.
Largely,
Yeah.
yeah. Good people who have good work ethics, that are motivated, that have, I'll say, family values.
Yeah.
Because when you come to work with the team of people, we're kind of like family.
Yep.
We all need to get along.
Yep.
We all need to coexist, and we all need to help each other out.
Yep.
So you can kind of learn a lot about somebody when you take them through this process. So I've determined now a little bit about what their vision is for the future. We're meeting in person now. We're past the pre-assignment. I'm going to ask them to share stories about what was it like growing up in your neighborhood. Tell me about your high school experience. What was that like?
Okay.
What did you participate in there?
What are you looking for when you ask those
I want to know
questions?
if they were in sports,
Okay.
if they were a writer for the school newspaper, did they work in the library, did they spend all their time doing experiments in the science lab? Are they more, were you more into the arts part of it? Were you in the choir? Were you in theater? Did you volunteer for anything?
Okay.
What did you do when you were in high school
Yeah.
besides go to class?
So see what their work ethic is
Yeah.
like. And
Yeah, I want to know who they are as a person,
right.
because I'm really interested in finding that out more than I am about their work history at this point.
Correct.
We're still early in the get to know you phase. So then, what did you do in college? Where did you go to college? Why did you choose that college? What did you have a major in mind when you went to college? Where did you end up in college? How was your grade point average? And then I want to talk about, tell me about your parents. What do they do for a living?
Okay.
What does your dad do? What does your mom do? Well, my mom's gone, or my dad died, or, I raised myself with however, I'd like to know what that scenario's like.
Is this it doesn't matter what age the person is, you're gonna go
Right.
through this entire process.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm getting to know people for who they are.
Okay.
Because I care about that.
Right.
Because in order for me to determine if they're going to be a good fit for my client or my company, I need to know what they're all about.
Right.
And we're still in the get to know you stage.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about work yet.
Right.
We haven't talked much about business. Okay, so after I get a handle on that, lastly, what we'll come to is let's talk about your work experience.
Yeah.
What was your first job? My first job at age 12 was recycling newspapers and aluminum cans so I could earn money to go on a camping trip.
Okay.
And I could tell you about every other job that I've had since I was 12.
Okay.
It was nothing but fun, but I'll tell you, I wasn't bored and I didn't sit around because if you want money in my world, you had to earn it.
Right.
That's how it works. So when it comes down to interviews, my recommendation is to spend your time getting to know the person well.
Yep.
You might have a couple of interviews after the screen, first face-to-face, maybe a second face-to-face. And for me, after I've screened the candidate once or twice, I will determine whether or not I'm going to bring him in to meet with the owner.
Right. You're the gatekeeper.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And the owner knows it.
Yeah.
And so he knows that if I'm bringing somebody to the table, I've already screened him pretty hard.
Yeah.
And so then he or she is going to interview him again. And that's a different interview because I don't control those questions.
Right.
That's when the owner starts shooting bullets and making the tough questions
Yeah.
and making stuff happen. And I'll be there to guide him through, but I've already prepped him, briefed him, given them all the strengths and weaknesses, status, here's where we're at. Would I recommend them or not? A lot of times I will go into that meeting and tell them I'm going to recommend you hire this person before you even meet them.
Right.
Or I'm not sure,
Right.
but I'm not bringing anybody in to waste the owner's time unless they're fairly well qualified.
Correct.
Yeah. So face-to-face meeting, simple assignment, talk about their vision, ask them to share stories. And the problem that leaders might face is not enough insight as to who your candidates are as people.
I'm gonna kind of interject here. Like, I just recently interviewed a person for a position with one of my clients, and we spent most of the time talking about, what are some of the things that she did, what, some scenarios, how she would manage, looking at an opportunity to grow in the future. Could she fill another position in a management role? And but the way that she presented herself, the way that she talked, the way that she answered the questions very truthfully, the thought process and taking the time to think it through just was a really beneficial, I think, for her as a kind of younger kid coming into the field. And then also, I didn't go through this process specifically, but focusing on the personal attributes, personal goals, personal work history.
Sure.
But then all these personal things that kind of showed us who the character was, really cemented that we thought that would fit with the team, and the client was really excited, and I was really excited.
Yeah, hopefully through this process you can determine if they're coachable, if they're trainable, if they've developed and proven that they're good learners. So there's a big learning curve on the front end. And if their long-term vision, their hopes and dreams don't line up with what this job opportunity is, it might not work out. I've also had situations where I've taken people through this process and they've sold me well, and they've got inside the job, failed, fired, unfortunately. Where they say fire fast, hire slow. Is that how it works? Yeah. So at any rate, interviews are a big deal. You have to be careful because there's laws, there's certain things you can't ask. You can't ask certain personal questions, so that's why I just want to get to know people.
Yeah. I think getting to know people is the best way. This is a great process, a very aggressive, I think, to make sure that you're filling that role correctly, because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money to search out people and fill that position. You want to make sure that you're filling that position with the right personality that's going to fit in with the team, that's going to likability. You're going to be able to coach them. You're going to be able to mentor them. You're going to be able to help them succeed. And when they succeed, the company succeeds. So you want to make sure that you put the time in to get the right person in the right seat.
Yeah, interviews can be fun. And it's great to meet people who are interested in your company.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So when it comes to interviewing, make sure that you walk people through a process of get to know you first. Yeah. That's my recommendation.
I agree with that 100%.
Cool. Thanks for being with us today. Look forward to seeing you next time.